Hey everybody, welcome into the Lettermen Lounge. The sun came up in Columbus, Ohio, but understandably still some raw emotions around town. 2 days removed from Michigan 42, Ohio State 27. We are going to get into it right now in Roosters for Lettermen Live. It's a fun, casual joint. There's a bowl giveaway. We will get to that, but that seems like the last priority to get into right now. So we brought in a couple extra helpers today to dive into it. Cardale Jones, Justin Zwick, Tyvis Powell, Bobby Carpenter, Berm, and myself. Predictions were wrong.
To say the least.
Yeah, to say the least. That's putting it nicely.
Where should we begin with this?
Man, when you go into the game, with that much on the line, and we didn't expect either team to score 42 points, let alone Michigan, knowing they, will keep the ball on the ground as much as they did. But you got to give credit where credit is due. Ohio State went up there, and they, one thing Coach Mick used to say about road games, you need to pack your tough undies and your run game and your D line. And Ohio State left it all in Columbus. So kudos to team up north, and Ohio State got to look forward to this bowl game.
Which they won't.
Of course not. Of course not.
Well, no. I think we thought maybe Ohio State would score 40-some points based off of what they'd done the last few weeks as an offense, but you're in a hostile environment with the weather, snowing up there. I mean, Berm, was it cold on the sideline?
It was cold.
Okay, it was cold, so you were dressed correctly though, right?
But I was cold.
Okay. But yeah, you're up there, hostile environment, snow coming down, wind. I mean, we had seen CJ throw the ball through that before, but man, when you're throwing it that many times and the run game's not going for you, I mean, in a game like that, trenches wins for you, and it won for Michigan on Saturday on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, it was just that. It's the energy. I was just so surprised to see us come out flat. Like, you come out, it's a rivalry game. It's so much on the line. And just to see, the team up north come out, you could clearly see that they wanted it more. They've been getting teased and picked on for the past 10 years. And then you could tell that this game meant more to them. I mean, they came out with a lot of passion and energy from the first drive. Boom, they took it right down in our face. Just boom, ran it right down our throat and scored. And we did not match them. No intensity on the second. When we got the ball, I felt like, and even when we got back on defense, I still feel like the energy just wasn't there.
And there was points in the game, chance to go 14-0, Bryson Shaw gets the interception. It feels like it's starting to turn a little bit. Like, things are pivoting. Go down, can't really get it together. You don't. And Chris Olave, he's been a Wolverine killer, man. But you've got to play big in those games. You have to make sure you make all the plays. But a little bit what Tyvis was saying, I mean, when you're playing a team that's that desperate in a rivalry game, you have got to find a way to match their level of intensity. And there was a desperation that they had, and you could see it from the very beginning, the emotional element of it. And we've risen to that almost every year. Maybe the talent gap was bigger and maybe just generally more physical. But you felt like when you watched this team this year, really good on offense, and they got a lot better on defense. But I would never have said that this team was physically dominant. A lot of the runs that we had, more perimeter run game, throw it around, and you can have all those things. But when you have to go get yards, you've got to be able to do it on offense. It's got to be downhill. And defensively, when you have to get stops, you need to be able to go and get stops downhill. And that comes from that emotional element. And it didn't seem like Ohio State was able to reach it on that level that Michigan got to. You have to match their intensity. And I guess the best analogy, it's been 10 years since there's been a Monday like this in Columbus, Ohio. A decade.
Yeah.
There's been a decade. I was still playing football. Cardale was still at Ohio State. So was Tyler. These guys were still playing.
Fork Union or something.
Fork Union, not even there.
Yeah.
It had been so long, so much time had passed since this, that I was trying to remember, what it was actually like. Hey, Big Ten Championship's happening, and Ohio State's not in it. You're coming off a loss. All of these different things. It's been so foreign. But when you grew up starving, proverbially in this rivalry, like a lot of people in Ohio did in the 90s, and watching the losses roll up, Tress gets here, and the thing gets flipped on its head. And then you even see the blip in 2011. But it's been a long time. And so Ohio State has been eating at the rivalry buffet of Roosters. They've got the carving stations. They've got caviar.
They got chips.
That's where the chips went.
They're bringing everything you want each and every day. And dude, Michigan has been the kids on the outside just staring through the glass, slobbering. And finally it got to the point where, dude, it's been so long since you've been starving that you can't remember what it's like anymore. And those guys at Michigan, give them credit. They knew how they were going to win. They knew what they needed to do. And Jim Harbaugh said, we're going to win or die try. He was going to run the ball 40 times.
Yeah.
You know, regardless of what happened, and you got to match it, and you got to be tougher up front.
To carry on your analogy, generally speaking, if you're on the inside of that buffet and you see a bunch of people outside the window, pounding on the window, you're like, okay, we got to keep an eye on these crazies back here because you don't know what's going to happen. And I think Ohio State finally just stopped looking, and Michigan busted through the glass and said, okay, we're taking it. If you're not going to try to stop us anymore, we're going to take it. Last week, I predicted Ohio State would win the game 45-38. You guys know I was nervous about things all week. Last Tuesday, we had a practice report, and I said that I thought Michigan was Minnesota plus. And Austin and Tim and the guys kind of laughed at me because Minnesota ran the ball down Ohio State's throat. And I thought that Michigan's style was a bad matchup for Ohio State. And you hoped that the game, the atmosphere of the game would be enough to help Ohio State's players kind of remember what happened 2 months ago. I asked Kerry Combs after the Oregon game in a press conference if Ohio State was tough enough, if he thought his defense was tough enough. And the answer he gave was that, yeah, he thought they were tough. They'd been through so much in the last year and a half, and it'd be, how could they not be tough? But I was talking about physically tough. Are you able to get punched in the face and fight back?
And you got your shank.
And they didn't.
Wild cards.
And they didn't fight back. And that's you saw it in the second half. Michigan, at that first drive of the game, of the second half, when Michigan gets the 3 and out, and then just goes three running plays for 82 yards, straight in the face of Ohio State. And that defense said, "We're done. We're not going to play anymore." And that was unbelievable to see.
One thing the defense I think had relied a lot on is our offense scored a lot of points, and our offense okay, well. We put teams in such a catch-up battle for our defense all year.
They threw the ball 3 times in the second half, right? Exactly. Or whatever it was. 5.
Yeah, they put them in there. Our offense put them in the catch-up battle so much. Now the defense don't have to worry about being tough because they know their offense got to go out there and throw the ball. They got to throw the ball. And Michigan at a point, this was one game we talked about on weekend kickoff that we didn't even mention talent. We didn't say, Ohio State at some point, their talent's going over. Yeah. This is a rivalry game. All that goes out the window. It's all about how bad do you want it and how tough you are. And we can look at Michigan roster, and clearly they don't match up with Ohio State roster as far as talent-wise, but they were tougher. And then, like we said before, they just won this game.
Well, they were. With all that being said, though, I'm guilty of it, went into halftime saying, all right, it's a 1-point game. We get the ball back coming out. We're going to, at that point in time, it could have been 21-14
They'll
if we'd
adjust
scored
and
right
stop the
before.
run.
Yeah, we'll figure this out.
Put another
I wasn't
linebacker
worried.
on the field.
I didn't expect that second half to go kind of the way it did. We took a couple punches early on. We fought back, 1-point game at halftime, and then the wheels fell off. 3 just straight run plays to open, kick it, and then, like Jeremy said, right down the field.
But to piggyback off of that, the thing that we've ignored is that all year the adjustments for Ohio State haven't been great. I mean, you think this game to me basically showed that the things that we were worried about in Minnesota, Oregon, and even when we was struggling in the red zone against Penn State, we just kind of ignored it because the teams they played after that, it's like, oh, they fixed it. Yeah. But the teams that they played after that wasn't that good of teams to begin with. So we thought, okay, maybe it was fixed. Coming into this game, everything that we was concerned about at the beginning of the year came right back out. I was in the group chat with D. Lee and Josh, and they literally was saying the same thing that we was saying in Oregon. Leverage, tackling, toughness, all that. It all came right back. Struggling in the red zone, taking field goals and not getting touchdowns in the red zone. Everything just literally came back, and it was just too overwhelming. They couldn't overcome it this time.
It's amazing. You bring up leverage. There was multiple times on the defense you could see dudes dipping their head inside, and Haskins and Corb, they did a good job setting up blocks. But you can't be messing around with the guy and dip inside when you have contained unless you know that you can whip that dude down and go make a play, and they couldn't do that. They weren't physically able to get there. I think, and some of the adjustments, I don't know how you like bring another dude in the game.
Yeah,
bring in another
all second half. Like, why don't we bring another down lineman?
You're getting mashed off the ball.
Yeah,
and the linebackers, like as much as I've really enjoyed some of those guys, like they haven't played that much, and I talked to them like it was going to be a 4-quarter game, and I don't think they were ready for those guys to be
the things that Michigan did. Michigan said, "Hey, this is our run game. Stop it. You're going to have to beat us." And vice versa on defense, what they did, Ohio State offense. They said, we're not going to let you beat us with this pass. I never seen a team play an Ohio State quarterback in 2-man so much. Because for one, I think it's because of the comments CJ made talking about he don't want to run the ball, he's not a running back. So what do? You play them in 2-man because you don't let those 3 receivers kill you. Even though they had, somewhat of good games, all 3 of them, but you play 2-man, and that's the best way to stop the pass. And then on defense, like I said, they just ran the ball. Ohio State they didn't make any of those adjustments. Like, you know what, forget this. Let's sell all out on the freaking run game. Let's make this quarterback dance through the air.
And I think that's
And they didn't do it.
another callback to Oregon, where we sat there and said, well, what's going on with this rotation and the personnel they're using? If Michigan is never going to throw the football, Marcus Williamson is of no value to you whatsoever defensively.
I said the same thing. Why are we a nickel and they running the ball? It should be.
That's a Craig Young situation. That's a Court Williams situation. Any other linebacker situation. And they were thin. Like, Cade Stover had to practice with the linebackers last week because they were down to 6 of them. You watched them go through warm-ups, and it was like the spring game. So some of this stuff has been going on for 6 months, 7 months, or we can throw in the Alabama game, and you sit there, and that was also extenuating circumstances, but they're playing 4 linebackers against Mac Jones and Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle, and you wonder what the hell is going on.
Blitz. Blitz. Go get them or something. And I understood, they came out and Ohio State played a nickel a lot because Michigan, they ran the ball out of 11 personnel. So 1 running back and 3 receivers. And to me personally, when a 4-minute offense or a time to run the ball, I mean, that's what I would do. That's my 4-minute offense. It'll be 11 personnel because I wanted that extra little body on the field, but you still got all your run plays available to you. I want to spread them all out. And definitely in critical situations, that's what Michigan did to a certain extent. But I'm like I said before, I'm the defense of Ohio State. I'm selling out on the run. I don't care. If we got that matchup like we saw the national championship game, we got 4 linebackers on the field and they got 3 receivers. Well, I'm banking on them running the ball. And hopefully with this blitz, or hopefully on this pressure I'm putting on, hopefully we get to them if they pass it.
Yeah, that Michigan offense
go get them.
Pass game isn't what Alabama was. You
Exactly.
didn't have Devontae Smith coming.
Exactly.
Now, granted, they made some good plays, and I think they had to play perfect. And even during the game, Joel Klatt, the running back, catches the ball one-handed, tucks it, and Joel Klatt was even like, "What is going on?" Because it just felt like everything they were doing seemed to be working.
They got creative. They had the little flea flicker. They took shots at Denzel Burke.
Done that all year.
Yeah, and
Obviously, that was a complete game.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
They
Even the
whipped
plays,
Ohio State ass.
exactly. Even the plays that Ohio State made on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, come on, man. Jackson, the catch behind the guy, the touchdowns, they Mossing got. Those guys was in position. It wasn't like blown coverage.
They were ready to play. And
really
you think about offensively Ohio State, every game the Buckeyes have lost in the last 5 years has come down to the same thing. The Buckeyes get one-dimensional and they lose. Mm-hmm. If you take away the Ohio State ability to run the football and you require the quarterback to throw it 50 times, the Buckeyes are going to probably lose. And it's not because the quarterback can't do it. CJ's done it. Dwayne against Purdue in 2018 threw it 73 times, set a school record for passing yards. But if you can't control the line of scrimmage, you're going to lose. And the Buckeyes got their butts absolutely kicked on offense and defense at the point of attack.
So the yards per carry is held up. It's been 20 years. The team that wins the yards per carry battle has won this game. It was 7.2 to 2.1.
Woo!
Like, not even close.
Not even close.
Tripling you up right there. I mean, it was ridiculous because Ohio State didn't need to go out and rush for
barbecue chicken.
No,
But they
that's how they work.
But when they needed to,
I used that a while, but
sure.
they needed to be able to go run the ball for 5 yards, and they couldn't do that consistently. Here's one other thing. What do you think the time of possession was in the game?
Oh, a lot to little.
Ohio State actually outgained them.
32,
Ohio State had the ball longer than they did.
Well, they scored so.
Actually,
Wow.
I'm about to say, because when we scored, it
Because
took like
Michigan
12
did what
plays.
no one else has been able to do all year, and they extended Ohio State drives. It was, C.J. Stroud threw the ball 49 times or something,
49,
threw for almost 400 yards, but there was not a lot of those chunk plays. It was 6 yards, 7 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards. And that's how you have to play it. You got to keep guys in front of you. Yep. As you said,
Goes back to 2-man. You got the 2 high safeties. You're taking away that big
and
play.
Daxton Hill is probably the only player in that Michigan secondary that is someone you can actually have to worry about scheming against. But you have to give kudos to the young guys that play corner. They made plays, and they were ready to play. Ohio State simply. I said this on Saturday. I wrote it on Sunday. One team played like they had nothing to lose, and one team looked like they thought they couldn't. And I'm telling you what, you go into that game and you think that team across the field from you doesn't want it, or you don't think that they can beat you, you get beat.
So we will not be giving out some Roosters Buckeye leaves for this loss. Let's dive in one more time before we take a break. What was the most concerning thing that happened on Saturday?
The toughness.
Yeah.
It hands down. So I take it kind of personally. I mean, Bobby probably can attest to this. Is that the fact that we play defense. So when you come to Ohio State, the number one thing you hear is silver bullet defense, flat out. You tougher than them, you're more physical than them, and you dominate. And you go out there and you see your defensive line and linebackers just completely getting blown off the ball. It's so concerning. You're seeing guys who just seem like they didn't want it. Like, no, it didn't seem like they wanted to throw it in there. And it kind of pisses me off because it's like we built something. Since Bobby was there, since before Bobby was there, it's always been, you're going to be the toughest people out there on that field. You're going to throw it in there. You're going to sacrifice your body for this team. No matter what may happen, you're going to do it. You got 10 other guys that's going to be there for you no matter what, so never be scared. And I did not see that. It really pissed me off because it's like everything we built is just completely failed out.
I would echo that. And I wouldn't even say it's just all defense. Like Denzel Burke giving up a play, that's going to happen.
Yep.
You're going to have that. Chris Olave, as great as he is, he's going to drop a ball every now and then. And those things are disappointing because you've seen those guys make those plays all year long. But it's the fact that couldn't stop the run when you knew that's what they were going to do.
Yep.
And it looked like you were even a little disinterested. That's defensive line, that's linebackers, that's safety. There's all three levels where you saw no one was really trying to set the tempo, or set an edge and making sure that, hey, this is what's going to happen. And then it was the same thing on offense. People want to get upset. You came out and ran the ball 3 times, you couldn't get 10 yards. I'm upset that you ran the ball three times
in a row.
You couldn't get 10 yards.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that to me, are we talking about having a Heisman Trophy candidate running back, an offensive line that has all these first-rounders, all that?
Oh, yeah.
3 times in a row, you can't get 10. I'm not saying 20. You just couldn't go get 10 yards. Like, that is highly concerning.
Yeah, the toughness, I'm going to echo what these guys said. And, I've been working with you guys and doing shows with you guys for the last, I want to say 3.5, 4 years. And one thing I always said about this team, not just this team in particular, but the way the program is going.
It's expected.
I said, they're not tough anymore. And the simple fact that we got to sit here and talk about you should be tough or what you need to do to win this game and you're not doing it, that's a problem. It'd be different when we talk about, oh man, you see that last play of the game, man, they got that lucky stuff. That'd be a different conversation. But when you're the recipe of every time you lose or come into situations where we think they shouldn't have been in, it always boils down to toughness. And like you said, on both sides of the ball, like you said, when you can run the ball 3 times and not get 10 yards, that's an issue. Yep. And that's not just a game issue. I think it's somewhat of a cultural issue. I don't know what's going on in those walls of the Woody right now, but I think they need to get back to the basis of being a tough football program and just letting the run game take
toughness is going to be a word they hear a lot here.
I've got thoughts. I mean, Ryan Day's entire mantra is tough love, right? So love is great. Tough is missing, and that has been obvious this entire season. Beyond that, I look at it from a roster composition standpoint of what's kind of just discerning is that, or not discerning, yeah, discerning. You build a roster, Ohio State's been building a roster to beat Alabama and beat Clemson, and you still play in the North in November, and there's a different level of toughness that you have to have just physically to be able to fight that. And beyond that, Jim Harbaugh was right. Like, there are some guys in that locker room, I'm not saying this about Ryan Day, who Jim Harbaugh was talking about, that would, are on third base and thought they hit a triple. There's a lot of guys on that roster that didn't have any part in what you guys built. And a lot of guys, I mean, there's not, how many players?
49 of them, I think, had never played against Michigan,
49
right?
players had never
Only
even
one,
suited
we
up.
said last week, had ever started against Michigan.
Right. They're not entitled to that win. And I think that, to me, is the thing that you hope that this is a wake-up call. In 2003, Jim Tressel lost to Michigan. Didn't ruin the program. Yeah. In 2011, Michigan was in the BCS bowl games. Ohio State was struggling. You guys were supposed to be terrible. No, 1 year, fix it, get back to what you'd have to do. I don't think this has to be a black and white, the program must change type of moment. I think it is obviously a wake-up call. There will be changes inside of the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. There's going to have to be. But I don't like that the reaction from people is it has to be totally black or white. This is Ryan Day's first Big Ten loss in his career.
3 years.
That's nuts. I mean, people just don't realize how hard that is.
Has lost 4 games in the last 4 years or whatever in regular season play. there are changes that have to be made, but it does not require throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's just about refocusing and understanding the importance of that game.
All right, we're going to get into what those changes may need to be, what they will be, what needs to happen as we shift gears away from what happened on Saturday into the future after we take a quick break. Right here on Lettermen Live, it's brought to you by Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint. And now with some early bowl predictions, Bobby Carpenter.
Well, Austin, what I'm seeing here is 12 lucky Roosters guests are getting the opportunity to travel to this year's Buckeye Bowl game. Each trip comes complete with 2 tickets, airfare, and hotel. 1 prize winner will be chosen each week. Guessing to register weekly at roosterswings.com.
That's great, Bobby. What I was asking was your prediction for the Buckeyes this bowl season.
I have no idea. I'm going to Roosters right now to register.
Precision engineering, rigorous attention to detail. A Bryant Evolution heating system is so well designed, it's as much of a joy to install as it is to use.
Good to go.
For the dealer nearest you, visit Bryant.com.
All right, welcome back in to Lettermen Live, brought to you by Roosters. They are giving away a bowl trip, Bob. We don't have to. It's too late to sign up. It's probably going to be the Rose Bowl, if Michigan wins the Big Ten.
chances. I mean,
Oh, come on!
here we
Don't
go.
do it,
Let's
Bobby. Don't do it.
If everybody loses,
Don't go down that road.
it's a dark, dark path. But go to roosterswings.com
And see the winners.
And you can see the winners. 24 winners, 12 each week. 2 deluxe hotel accommodations, airfare, tickets. Most likely going to be the Rose Bowl.
Airfare is crazy expensive right now.
It's actually a great deal if it's the Rose Bowl because my goodness, I feel bad for Nicole. She's seeing more family. That's why she's not here today. And I told her to save her Buckeye leaf for the bowl game as well. Also, tomorrow is Appetizer Tuesday. Don't know exactly what it's going to be. It was supposed to be mac and cheese bites, so it could be dealer's choice.
It's gonna be $2. We got some fried
just got
mushrooms,
them
some fried cheese.
Honestly, the most
Because it could be
disappointing
anything.
The most disappointing part of the 2021 season was the lack of mac and cheese.
Oh,
Well,
Or chips.
well, and the fact of potato wedges. I mean, we've had
Oh,
a lot
yes,
of
that's
things.
right.
We've suffered a lot of losses.
I told
here.
you
A lot.
We
I
need to
think
start-
there's a direct correlation.
I haven't seen a
between-
potato skin in a while.
Well, they need to start planting more wedge potatoes as opposed to the curly fried potatoes.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
You're absolutely right.
He's right.
I mean,
So-
that's really where we're at.
So,
Speaking of adjustments,
don't think that Ohio State is going to be all that motivated for a Rose Bowl. And I know there are a lot of traditionalists who love that game.
I disagree for one
Okay,
reason.
well, can I do?
Please get
Let
there.
him set
I'm going
the-
to
let
tell
him
you
set
why
the
I disagree.
stage.
I'm with you on that one.
Maybe they will be, and you guys can make that case. I don't think that they will be. I think that the offseason program, the toughness program, all that stuff, the tough love will start right now. There will be coaches that are no longer part of the program, and there's also no sense in waiting. So the team that will play on January 1st,
So get rid of them now.
that's going to start. This team will look very different.
Early
So
sign,
maybe that
very
will play into what you're about to say, Burm and Tyvus. But there's going to be, like, if Garrett Wilson plays in the Rose Bowl, I will be stunned. If Cameron Brown plays in the Rose Bowl, I will be stunned. There's going to be guys that don't play. So maybe that will also mean more motivation, and maybe my premise here is wrong, but I don't think there's anyone in the Woody who's like, let's bring home a Rose Bowl trophy.
I'm going to say this. I don't know if they will win the Rose Bowl because of a lot of guys like
They're
Garrett
going to
Wilson.
play a team that is not anywhere near.
They're
as
going to
talented.
play Oregon again, most likely, and they're going to have that chip on the shoulder. But I have a unique vantage point on game days where, like, I was in the tunnel in Ann Arbor on Saturday as the game ended, watching these players go into the locker room after getting their asses kicked.
Mm-hmm.
I know that people don't care about it, but there's a lot of young guys who are very, very angry about what happened on Saturday. I watched Travion Henderson, for example. He was the most pissed off I've seen of any player at Ohio State walking up a tunnel. There's stuff to play for, okay? Like, you don't come to Ohio State because I'm going to win every game. Like, you come to Ohio State because you want to be great, and this is the next step in how do you get there. So you think Ryan Day is going to allow his players to sulk for a month? I just don't see it. The Buckeyes have the second or third most talented roster in the country. If you lose 7-8 guys that don't play in this game, so what? Next man up.
You've
It's
been
time.
young all year long. Why not throw some more young guys in there?
I don't think they're gonna sit out.
I think playing in the Rose Bowl
listen,
changes some things, especially for a guy like Chris Olave.
Listen,
it's his home. It's an opportunity to be a 1,000-yard receiver.
My last game in an OSU jersey, I'm going out with a loss. I'll be dang. It's not going to happen. Especially if these my boys and these my boys. Like I'm definitely going to.
Well, we saw that in.
We going to ride out.
We saw that in 2018.
And the good thing about Ohio State is if you play a pissed off Ohio State team like we was when we lost to Michigan State, it's whoever in front of you got to get destroyed.
You saw that in the 2015 Fiesta Bowl against Notre Dame.
Exactly.
You saw that in the 2018 Rose Bowl against Washington. That's the game that Terry McLaurin and Paris Campbell and Johnny Dixon and all these guys could have sat out, but they were like, no, we're finishing it the right way. And I think here, if we want to do a litmus test for the culture of Ohio State football, that's it.
It is. And if it is Oregon, it'd be a good one because why did Oregon beat us? They was more of a physical team.
Yeah.
So we need to see right now. Like, can y'all fix this? Y'all didn't win against them. Y'all already lost. Y'all got a chip on y'all shoulder. Y'all know they gonna come. You know it's gonna be a dog fight. Can y'all stand up this time?
Well, and the other piece too is some of these guys, especially some of the offensive linemen,
They got to redeem themselves.
if your last thing on film is
yeah.
okay, we've now have seen you go against equitable talent.
Yeah.
Guys who were close and it did not look good. And so there's going to be questions that you need to answer because there's a lot of assumptions like, well, they're good at this, they're good at that. Well, we just watched you get your butt kicked, and there's rounds that you can slide based upon performances, and especially if Thibodeau. I don't know if he would play with Oregon or what or how that would all work, but there would be the opportunity there. And we mentioned this, and you brought up 2003. So, Berm, I know you were back playing in Wyoming, hitting the golf balls around. But 2003, that was the last time that Ohio State I thought was better. It was a good Michigan team, and it was a permanent coach, not fake in 11. And Jay-Z, were you up there?
Yep.
Chat with us?
Yep.
So you came up to the game.
Was it Chris Perry?
Chris Perry game. Who looked a lot like I'm watching that.
Yeah.
A lot like Hassan Haskins on Saturday.
Yeah, a lot like it, right?
I'm watching that game, and I'm getting a feeling
Thank you.
we're playing hard. But we just don't seem to have that extra gear. Like our offense is good, but it doesn't seem like they're just going to be able to bail us out over the top. And so it came down to basically a toughness issue. We had won 2 times in a row. And speaking from my perspective, not that you took the game for granted, not this and that, but it's like, hey, they won up there in 01, we won in 02. Like this is just kind of what we do now. And that level of desperation, I think, was kind of lost. And he ended up taking the Cincinnati job. Mark D'Antonio is our defensive coordinator. And every time, and this was when we had that long break, we watched that Michigan game, and he's yelling at dudes on the sideline for not cheering. He's like, 2-yard loss. What is this? And he's like pointing dudes out on the sideline on the film. Yeah. He's like, get excited. Why did we even bring you here? And and it was real life. And so we'd be walking the halls of Woody, and he would just, hey, and he'd look at, get in here. And it didn't matter the play. And he's like looking, and it was every day. It was like the post-game film session for probably about 24 days. And it stung. And it was like a scathing review of just like, you're not tough. You're not. What is this? Like, is this what you are as a player? And continually asking you that, and it stung, man. And so that like motivated everybody. I think that's where that thing flipped. Like, you can't take this for granted. They outplayed you, and they were tougher than you. Is this what you want?
And the next year, they were better than us and were supposed to beat us, and it didn't happen.
And you guys went to the Fiesta Bowl and knocked around a really good Kansas State team. And I just think when you get your manhood tested like that, and that's what Saturday was. That was there's a lot of cliches of Woody Hayes around the football facility. But the quote
I think that's
about,
why they put his name on it.
Yeah, probably. But the quote about like nothing cleanses your soul like getting your ass kicked or whatever.
Yeah.
This is that moment. I mean, you have to ask yourself, is this what you want? And earlier this season, Ryan Day said that C.J. Stroud had one of those moments where he had to evaluate, is this what you want? And now there's going to be another 70 or 80 guys in that locker room that have to do the same thing.
It's the same you go back to on the film. Is this who you want to be on film? Is this who you want the NFL to see you playing in a game against your rival? I think it's going to be a lot of people who are going to be hungry. Yeah, the eye in this guy don't lie, and those guys put some pretty bad stuff on the film here this past weekend.
It's funny to hear that D'Antonio did that. That's what they did to us when we lost to Michigan State and Clemson. Every time.
It's fickle. It was fickle, dude.
Boom, put it on. This is y'all. Every bad play. Look at this. Right before we did mat drills, every workout session, they put that clip on. We'd be like, all right, And then what happened the next year? We won it all. So the stuff works.
Beep.
Well, you guys have me convinced. I was obviously wrong yet again, as I have been.
You made
I have
me
been
right.
for a lot of the season.
See, that's the whole thing, though. The game has changed so much, so quickly with name, image, and likeness, with all this other stuff. You just don't know. I mean, we wouldn't have talked about players skipping a bowl game 5 years ago. So it's hard to understand where it goes. But if you watched Chris Olave sitting on the bench in Michigan Stadium on Saturday when the game ended, as he's watching 100,000 people on the field, that didn't look like a guy who was ready to say, you know what, I'm walking away from this. It's the same Chris Olave who, after the 2019 Clemson game, could have gone to the NFL and been a first or second round pick and said, I can't leave like this. His career's over at Ohio State, but
maybe it's not.
He has an opportunity to write one last final thing, and I think that
maybe he's going to take a COVID year
again. Well, he's not, but he got the chance to go home and play in front of his family for the final time. I mean, I just think that there's a lot of guys that are going to have motivation to do it.
Chris is a proud guy, and he's quiet. He doesn't speak a lot. Like you guys know, you cover the team, but like his legacy had come down. I mean, he was that dude that played really well in these games.
Yeah,
and I think that's probably what stings him more than anything else. Is like, did he play bad? No. Yeah. But, like, he knew that there were plays out there to be had that he didn't make, man. And when you've always been the guy that's made the play from block punts to touchdowns, and then you didn't get it last year, and you come back for this, and then to sit there and watch. And, like, I guarantee you, like, it stings him more than anything. Because as much as some of these guys are big-time NFL dudes, I had to talk to a recruit on the sideline for the Michigan State game, and the one thing him and his dad said, like, we like this more because there's more tradition, and he's from the South. There's more tradition that goes into Ohio State. A lot of the other places just seem like they simply prepare you for the NFL. And they do that here, but there's also an element of things that matter, and team matters, and there's a history that does matter more than maybe just the guy who's currently renting that number.
Right. So the other part, setting the players aside, I think there's probably a very good. It's trending towards Greg Studrawa probably not returning as the offensive line coach. I think retirement is probably near for Larry Johnson. So you can start with those two places as the staff sort of gets tweaked this month. Kevin Wilson is going to come up for a handful of jobs, already has.
He hasn't been offered any of these jobs.
That's truly crazy. Right? And as many as are open right now, he has to get one in this cycle. And then if Colorado State wakes up and does the right thing with Steve Adazio, I would expect Tony Alford to get that job. So we're talking minimum of 2 and a maximum of a much higher number. We don't have to speculate on candidates or anything like that at this point, but what do you guys think needs to happen for Ryan Day as he sits here? It's only 2 days removed from that, but something has to be changed. You said that right off the top, Cardale.
But I don't think it's always like, I don't think it's have to be so dramatic as a huge coaching change, or as far as guys like, we're not retaining your position. Yep. If they leave for a better opportunity, that's different. But I just think it just boils back down to recruiting the right. Well, not recruiting the right players, just the way you're going to tweak this offseason of getting back to the basics of we are a tough team. We set up, especially this offense and this defense, we start with the guys up front. And we only going to go as far as both sides of the ball. These guys up front are going to take us. So I think we let that be an emphasis. I know we had some tremendous quarterbacks in the last couple of years, great receivers, and CJ and these guys are on pace to still do something unbelievable. But at the end of the day, we play in the North, and this time of the year, you got to be tough.
You're doing this. I think most of it comes down to recruiting. I mean, there's people out there calling for Larry Johnson to I know he might retire, but there's people who are saying, has he passed his prime? It's like, well, the last 5 years. Well, I know. I'm saying, like, just because they're not on the field producing like the Bosa's or the Chase Young, like we don't have those players right now. But does that mean he's a bad coach? No. I agree with Carter. I don't think wholesale changes need to be made. I do think it's a little bit on that offensive line. Going into the year, there's a lot of talk of how enormous and how big and strong and everything this offensive line was going to be at the end of the year, and you can't go to your run game for 10 yards. That says something to me. So I don't know that it's because of him. Maybe he just doesn't have the right guys. Maybe we were playing 5 tackles when we should have had some guards in there. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that, and coaches decide who plays. But that would be one maybe I would look at. Just some fresh blood, some different ideas, and that brings in some toughness. Whoever you go and get, if that were the case.
And speaking about beginning of the year and talking about having all the tackles in the offensive line and stuff like that, I'm like, well, this is going to be a passing team because it's a different mentality when you got to run the ball in between the interior.
Have a couple
line.
mutters in the middle.
If you got some tackles, they are not built. They're not. Their DNA is not. Oh, this guy's right in front of me. I need to drive this guy and work a double team like that. It just don't work like that.
When you saw, that was one of the big problems. I mean, the double team stuff, you saw Michigan linebackers firing and running through, and they weren't meshing, getting off the double team to pick up the backer. Part of that is, Harry Miller, obviously an injury issue, kind of misdiagnosed at the beginning of the year, and he's out. So you start shuffling some guys around. I know you want to get your best players on the field, but there is, everybody's just not position neutral. There are certain guys that are built
it's hard to just
certain ways, hey, this guy's taller, maybe more athletic, but this guy's a little shorter, more powerful. It's like that with receivers, with linebackers.
Yeah, usually you got one guy like that, not four. And it don't work like that.
You can just this guy's so great, you can play him anywhere, and he's going to be good. So that you got to help that. I've never been one to believe in wholesale changes. I've sat there, I've watched practice, I've seen these guys coach. I don't think it was a scheme thing. I don't think they got out of scheme. I think there was a toughness element that was involved, and so you can maybe lean on the coaches. Did they get them ready? Were they physical enough? Are you recruiting physical enough guys? Are you training physical enough in the offseason? Is practice physical enough? Is that on the coach? Who's making those decisions?
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine who works for me. He's like, well, looks like it's going to be 9-on-7 a lot in the spring. And I'm like, 100%. I'm like 100%. Hey, as great as it is, we can throw the ball. You can throw on 1-on-1s and 7-on, dude. And we used to have some nice long 9-on-7 inside run periods that, you know what, where we talk, guys are fighting each other.
Yeah.
Because you get sick of it. There's a competitive element to it. And so I don't know if that comes from the coaches. I know Kerry Combs, I've watched, is he different than the guy that was coaching when you were there who, is this great coach who does a good job? People are the hammer maybe as a coordinator, but as a position coach, okay, I think he's really good. I've seen how Al Washington interacts with the guys. I think he does a good job. Milton gets hurt. He blows out his knee. All right, is that on the coach? They were thin at backer. They just didn't have any other guys. Talking about bringing over
Cade Stover.
Is that on the coach? The fact there's nobody there.
You got two leave in the middle of the season, the beginning of the year.
Yeah,
just you don't have the bodies.
I don't know.
You should have recruited. You should have been recruited well.
And some of those guys, George Mitchell was one of the top inside linebackers.
Number one ranked linebacker in the country.
There's guys who were Davon Pope, really, really talented player when they came in. There are some of these guys who were really good.
But it's not always about that.
Oh, I know.
That sometimes
it's finding the guy.
Exactly. Them stars be misleading at times. It's all about the development, and I think that's, for some odd reason, to me, when you look at this team, you can clearly see that it's a difference from when Urban was the coach and when Ryan Day was the coach. If you can't see that, then you're clearly not paying attention. Right now, for some odd reason, it's like Urban just. People were scared. They didn't want to go to the Woody. It was just a physical time. You dread it. You dread man, I got to go to the Woody.
It was a physical time.
Now they let's go to the Woody. It's like they enjoy what they do.
Let's go hit the golf simulator.
Right.
It's just for some odd reason to me. It's
go hit the chef up.
There's
get some
an
dinner.
edge.
It's too friendly.
There's an edge.
We used to tell. I used to still to this day. With the NIL thing, I still represent some of the players for the team. I still know a lot of those younger guys. And we sit down like this, we talk crap, and I'm not going to, to the players, but I tell stories about just the offseason or practice, and they sit there like I'm telling them a horror story. They're like this. Oh, my God. You guys started practice over? Well, I said, we probably at period 17. We start that.
To one.
To warm-ups, getting your stretch lines.
The whole thing. Start it all over.
Start all over. Okay. Y'all bull crapping? Start it over. Oh, they like this physical enough? Start it over.
There is
and
a change in
have
sports.
to go to the pit.
Now, it's not just even, see, this is the thing. It's not even just the players. It's the Ohio State football media accounts have to have content, okay? So you got to have fun punt returns in practice. It's a weird world, and there's an edge missing right now, and there's going to have to be changes. And I think, and I know I get blamed or called an apologist or a homer or whatever, but Ryan Day is 43 years old. He's in his third year as a head coach anywhere. Not like he was a head coach other places. I truly believe that what happened on Saturday is going to be the best thing that's ever happened to Ryan Day, because he is going to be forced to look himself in the mirror and say, am I willing to make myself uncomfortable for this success? And I've been fortunate because I got to know him when he started at Ohio State early, and as the quarterback's coach and offensive coordinator. There is nobody in that facility who is a more fierce competitor than Ryan Day. This is going to not happen again. I said it after the Clemson game in 2019. He became singularly obsessed with beating Clemson, and he did it and embarrassed them the next year. I'm not saying he's going to go out and embarrass Michigan next year, but I think he's embarrassed, and I think you're going to see a guy change everything about what he's been doing to make sure that he doesn't have this happen again.
Yeah.
I think I would.
However that happens on the staff, I don't know.
You and I both know that you can scratch the think part out. We know for a fact that he's embarrassed, and this is not acceptable for Ohio State. Why we've talked about it this long, and we could probably talk about it for another hour, but
The edge is back. Get the words up there.
Oh yeah,
or
get the word.
Oh, the land of the
It's the
Wolves is
words.
returning, and all these other
no,
things.
the land of the Wolves was horrible.
Yeah, so let's.
Jesus, that was so bad.
I'm not sure that it'll come back to that stuff, but you know that it's going to drive and motivate Ohio State, and we'll have a lot more Lettermen Lives to talk about that in the days, weeks, and months ahead. But that's going to put a pin on this one. Michigan 42, Ohio State 27. The run is over. Dominance in the Big Ten is over.
Wait, hold on.
It's not
No,
over.
it's
The run is over. The run is over.
No,
the
the streak is over.
Somebody say
The
that's
streak
the
is
whole
over,
point.
not the
That's
run.
the whole point.
Streak is over.
One loss
I don't like
doesn't
the way you
have to
word
be
that.
the
Yeah,
end of the
the
run.
That's
streak
not
is
what I'm
over.
saying.
I know what
Words
you
are
mean. Yeah, the
important.
wording, man.
You guys are right.
Right.
That's what I'm here. I'm
About
5
to have-
editors
about
this
to
week.
flip this table
Same
over
idea,
here.
though. Same idea.
I appreciate that you guys are here to keep that in line. I'll send all of my work this week to you guys to make sure that I get it right.
Yeah, we'll read
as
through it.
well. Hey,
Good luck with that.
yeah, this wasn't quite as fun of and casual conversation as we have, but still enjoy, as always, Cardale Jones, Justin Zwig, Tyvis Powell, Bobby Carpenter, Jeremy Birmingham. I am Austin Ward, and we're going to be back here next Monday to talk about the Ohio State Buckeyes. Thanks to Roosters for having us for a fun casual chat. It's a fun casual joint. Come see them tomorrow for Appetizer Tuesday. See you next week.